Gun!
Where does resiliency even come from? It's a question that comes up a lot because resiliency has a strong link to life success. If you're able to suffer, to be able to be disciplined where other people are not, there's a greater chance that you're going to be able to reach your goals. And it does often come from situations like this. When you look back in the past and think about other times when you've suffered, when you've had difficulty, and you persevered. And I have so much respect for people that put it on the line. When you're in a competition, there's that choice of win or lose. It's just you against your opponent. And there's a lot of ego there, especially when you're doing something like a martial art where other people are judging you on your prowess. And there's that feeling of what happens when you lose. Being able to lose and lose well is a skill that very few people possess, and it's one that needs to be honed from a very early age. And that's the wonderful part of martial art training is when taught well, you're learning that discipline. You're learning to be able to control your emotions, deal with your breathing, and deal with the feelings of defeat, and to be able to know that losing in a fight doesn't mean that you've lost. It just means that you're learning and you haven't reached it yet.
Next!
It's not an easy thing. I think that for most people, losing is not an easy thing. I'm gonna quote from, I think it's Zen in the martial arts, but it's a great quote, which is lengthen your own line. You're really not battling against your opponent. In the end, you're battling against yourself, your inner thoughts, your inner demons, your inner negative voice to make yourself a better person. And that ability to lose and lose with grace, it's one of those lost skills that we don't see taught anymore. Not everyone gets a medal in the world. It's just not the way that the world works. So when we teach children that everyone gets a medal, then when the real world hits them, they feel really upset because they're like, wait a second, what about me?
You're dropping your elbow.
It's the last thing that someone wants to hear. When you've just beaten someone, they're probably not. It's hard to hear advice from someone when you're already inside of your head. You can tell that he was already being self-demeaning and dealing with the loss. So you might want to just wait. But it is helpful advice and it was probably pretty accurate.
Just some friendly advice?
We're not friends, Kalina. Now I need advice from you.
Your movements say otherwise. Have you learned anything during your time here?
Don't mock me.
Her words are biting. Have you not learned anything from your time here?
I'm the best fighter here other than you. And one day, I'm gonna surpass you. Then I'm gonna be the world's greatest swordsman.
Maybe one day. But not today.
I love that line. I also like that Queen is able to take the fact that she may not be the greatest with a lot of grace, that might be the case and people change and depending on how you train and your body strength, and she took it really well.
I know I can't beat you. It's these bamboo swords. Let's fight with real blades to see who's best.
Fine. Katanas it is. You better be ready to kill me.
You can tell that he's questioning his choice since he knows that he's already the second best fighter. And by him saying that, that gives her a lot more confidence, and it also undermines his own confidence in himself. That spite and resilience is not enough to win when we're talking about a skill that takes a lot of training. And I love that for Zoro, he just doesn't give up. He sees something and he keeps at it over and over again, trying to look at things from different angles. We often have that inner monologue, and when we're in these situations where we're looking at something that may seem to others like insurmountable odds, some people just don't have give, that they just see different challenges as different opportunities to find a different way. And where do we build resiliency? It really does often happen through our childhood, for the things that we train. Resiliency, discipline, these are skills. These are not things that we are innately born with. Certain personality types will have more of it kind of given, but it's something that you practice. And there's a huge difference between motivation, which is the want to do something, which a lot of people are like, Georgia, give me motivation, which we can do, but that's fleeting. It comes and goes. Discipline is being able to do something even when you don't want to, especially because you don't want to. That's what shows discipline. And that can be trained. And if you train it at a young age, it's something that will stick with you for the rest of your life. So if you want to build it, every time you don't want to do something, but you do it anyways, you're building discipline, the ability to suffer, to do something even though everything in your body says, I just don't want to.
Ready to learn your lesson?
Not in this lifetime. Let's end this.
This is one of the places where having that anxiety, that adrenaline can actually help you. In a fight, you don't want to be too calm. If you're too calm, your reaction time is going to be slower, your thinking time is going to be slower. This is when, if you are well trained, you're going to let your body do whatever it has to. And that's why you practice a skill 1,000, 100,000 times, because you want it to become muscle memory. If you do something enough times, thinking about it actually makes you worse at it. And so in times of stress, a master of a skill will be better. And in times of stress, someone that is a novice will actually be worse. So here you want to have that optimal amount of anxiety. You want it to be in that zone. You don't want to be so anxious that your brain is just bzzz, and you don't want to be so calm that you're going to be slow in your reaction time. And so a lot of people before they fight, especially because it's such an adrenaline dump, you kind of can do some breathing to be able to keep yourself in that zone. A lot of professional athletes, a lot of people that do theater, you're doing your breathing techniques so that you don't burn yourself out too fast and you keep it in that optimal level, and then you get the most out of it so that your body just does what it knows. That's why if you have a mistake that you've been doing also though, you want to weed that out, because when you're stressed, you're going to go back to that old habit, and that can be really bad.
Am
I the only one that was like, why did he just use both swords like this? Like, I'm just asking. I'm like, why? That's the only thing. Like, he keeps on hitting on both. I know, neither here nor there, but it's just where my mind goes to. I love when he's climbing the sound, that single-mindedness, that full amount of focus. When someone is doing something that needs all of their concentration, they're using all of their mind's power to be able to keep at something. It's a skill that you can also get better with practice. And for a lot of people, it might be hard. They get easily distracted by different things. You can actually get better by practicing staying focused on even looking at a point in the wall, doing your breathing, and staying completely still. You can get better at that. Remember, whatever you're doing at any moment, you are physically modifying your brain to get better at it.
2 swords not enough? Maybe you should have brought more.
It's like a beautiful line because he uses 3 swords and he uses her sword. So it's kind of like beautiful and kind of emotional for me at the same time. The loss of her in some way that we don't know yet.
You're dropping your elbow again.
And another piece is that Zoro's really changed as a fighter as we watched him before. He's so emotional. He lets his emotions get the best of him. And in a fight, that is a huge detriment to you because other people can use it against you. And when we're too upset or angry, we're not focusing on the task at hand. We're having our ego be bruised. To be able to be a really exceptional fighter, you need to stick to the plan and take your ego out of it, because if it's being used against you, then it's going to flood your mind and you're going to be so angry that you're going to make mistakes. A lot of people in professional fights, professional sports, will actually try to say things to make you angry so that you make mistakes.
I can't beat you. Just kill me.
I love that. I love the respect of her giving her hand to help him up. And I love the fact that he accepted her help. It's such a show of respect and humility. And I think that that's the other part that's so wonderful about practicing and training in martial arts, is that you learn to be humble. You learn that even if someone is smaller or a different body shape than you are, that they may still beat you. And so it kind of keeps us from having all of this bravado. And I think there's something really beautiful in being able to metaphorically deal with that kind of ego death and keep going. It rebuilds you from the foundation up into a stronger person. I also love that that's what happens to him also when he's on the well and on his back, that he knows that he can keep going and build himself up. And that's actually what happens. We draw on our past, the things that we've been through, to be able to draw our strength, to be able to keep going even though everything that happens knocks us down. And that's what resilience is. It's falling down 9 times, but getting up 10.
I don't deserve to wield a sword.
Don't be an idiot. You'll surpass me in size, strength, and speed. Eventually, you'll surpass me in everything.
That's dumb.
No, that's nature.
I love his comment to it, because she's defeating herself already. And there's definitely a whole bunch of true points to that in the being surpassed in strength and speed, but that doesn't mean in skill. And if she keeps training, she's only going to get better. But I think that the reason that he calls her out is this is the inner voice that he also has within himself. And so it's so much easier for us to see someone else's negative voice portrayed in someone else and be able to call it on it, that that's horrible. How could you say that about yourself? Why would you defeat yourself before you've even fully tried? Yet we often do it to ourselves anyways, and we need to call out that negative self-talk as well inside of us as we do to those that we care about.
I'm small now and fast, but soon all the boys will get taller and stronger. Their arms will be longer than mine.
Who cares about that kind of stuff?
Don't you get it? Girls can beat boys, but no woman can beat a man.
Don't say that.
And that's not true. Like, again, with equal training, then yes, size and strength and speed makes a difference. But with more training, then you can deal with that. And so you want to deal with what you have. And there are a whole bunch of people with many different types of disabilities or issues that they may have. That doesn't mean you just quit. There's always going to be someone better. There's very few people in the world that will be the best at whatever skill is at hand. Does that mean that you just stop or give up? No, you keep going. You do the best that you can with the skills that you have. And in the end, it's you trying to lengthen your own line. You're in the end battling yourself. And if you keep on training at whatever you want and don't let that fear of failure stop you, you will get better. This will be the worst point that you will ever be at something if you keep on training at it. And the only way that you fail is if you quit.
You're my goal. If you just give up, then what has all our training been for?
Let's fight every day. We'll keep getting better and stronger until one of us becomes the greatest.
Do that for me?
I'm like, no, he's doing it for himself. You're the best. You stop training, then how is he going to get better? But it was also a beautiful moment. But that was what happened in my head.
I, Roronoa Zoro,
Gotta fight, train, and kick your butt every single day.
Then I, Shimotsuki Kobina, gotta fight, train, and kick your butt every single day.
It's just so good. And when we make a vow, especially when it's when we're younger. These things stick more when we're younger. Why? Because our brain is much more plastic. We have so many more neural connections that we're actually pruning away and making other ones stronger. And so because of that, things that happen to our childhood, and the reason why in therapy we look towards people's childhood is because that's often the inception of who we become. What are the things that stick with us? And often when we've gone through difficulties or hardships, we think back or have flashes to things that happened in our past because they were so momentous to who we become later.
Just waiting for Queena. Do you know where she is?
There was an accident. She's gone.
But she can't be.
And loss that happens to us during childhood really also hits us so much harder because often it's something that we haven't already dealt with. And the world, we can do anything. We can become anyone. And so that's where a lot of our hopes and dreams begin and sometimes also die. And for him, the thought of like that dream of becoming the greatest swordsman, having this person that in his mind, they would be doing this until adulthood. It just is such a soul-crushing thing to lose someone that we often carry that with us so much stronger because they created this bond. And that's why a lot of people that have bonds from childhood, they're much more precious because of that innocence and naivety and the amount that we care and believe in something. And I say naivety in a way of that it's beautiful, not as a way that it is a sad thing. I think that a lot of times we lose that and we need to kind of hold on to that childlike wonder for longer. And if possible, always.
We made a promise.
And I hear that one a lot, not just from children, but from adults of like, but they promised me. And how much that means to them that it can't be true. Like it just seems our object permanency is the knowledge that an object is always there. That even if we don't see it, it still exists. And it's a hard thing to, at least in this life or this world, not to have something that you had before, to have it just be gone, depending, of course, on what your belief system is. But no matter what, to not be able to hold, to touch, to speak to someone the same way that you did before is really, really hard.
We made a promise.
I'm going to go back so that we can do that one again, because I think that they all go together.
She can't be. We made a promise.
We made a promise.
And a lot of people, that's what they do. That keeps them going, that drive when it's too hard and too difficult and everything in your body says stop, but you keep on going. That's his strength for him. It's Queena.
Sensei, please give me the honor of allowing me to carry Queena's sword. Because Queena and I made a promise.
And it's up to you to fulfill that promise. For you. And for her.
Listen. And that's where he draws all of his strength, because he has this promise, this goal that he has to fulfill, not just for himself, not for his ego, but for Queena as well. And think that that adds to his traits of resiliency and discipline. Before you rush off from this channel, listen to today's sponsor, because one of the most wonderful ways to help out is to be able to give to charity, but it's really hard to figure out which are the ones that you want to give to. There's so many great charities out there that it can be paralyzing, and I usually try to give to a different variety every year. So that's where today's sponsor, GiveWell.org, fits in. GiveWell invests over 40,000 hours a year into researching charitable organizations, distills down the highest impact, the most evidence-based opportunities, and then makes all that research available and publishes all their top picks on their site for free. That's why over 100,000 donors have used GiveWell to donate $1 billion, saving over 150,000 lives and improving the lives of millions more. I know that you're probably wondering, well, how much does GiveWell get in the process? Well, GiveWell wants as many donors as possible to make the most informed, highest impact donations possible without taking a cut. I know, I couldn't believe it, without taking a cut. So just check out the research and recommendations, allocate your tax-deductible donation to the charity of your choosing. And if it's too hard to choose, there's also a top charities and all funds option that will split up your donations for you. Also, if you've never donated to GiveWell's recommended charities before, you can have your donation matched up to $100 before the end of the year, as long as matching funds last. So to claim your match, go to givewell.org/Georgia. Make sure they know that you heard about GiveWell from this channel, Georgia Dow, to get your donation matched. Clicking on that button really does help out this channel, and thank you to GiveWell, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video. So these are my favorite moments of Zoro. You can let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. And I haven't read the manga, so thank you so much for everyone that kind of gives me pieces of the backstory, because I know that they probably have much more about their history that they have together. So thank you so much for that also. And hopefully I'll see you in the next video.